I have great news. I am still alive. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding in the sense that being alive is always great news. I'm kidding in the sense that that is the great news I'm referring to. Now, the great news is in fact a few different pieces of good news which combined together equates to great news. So let's start chronologically and work our way from there. So, first piece of good news is apparently my oncologist is famous now. So, I had a meeting with him this morning. So, go ahead, get to the hospital. And the way that I get to the hospital is there's a tunnel that links the subway system to the hospital. So, whenever I get off the subway, I always take that tunnel and go to the hospital. And right when you get to the hospital, in the tunnel, there's like four really big posters, two on either side. And, I've seen them hundreds of times at this point. But one of them changed today, or recently. Today I saw it for the first time. And the first thing that I see is my oncologist's face, like 50 times bigger than normal life. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I just was not expecting that. So I'm like, okay, cool. I guess my oncologist is famous now. And there is a continuation of that story. I'll continue once we get to that point, but first I'll kind of walk you through the day. So go ahead after realizing my doctor is famous. Go for the blood test. Turns out I had two blood tests, one scheduled for today, one scheduled for tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm meeting with my cancer rehab team. And they called me a couple of days ago saying, like, hey, even though your appointment is technically for tomorrow, go ahead and get the blood test done today. So that way you get both of them done at once and you don't need to, get it pricked twice. So I ended up getting two blood tests today, which is definitely a first. Doesn't really change anything aside from the fact that they just take a little more blood. So that went well. And then I go ahead to the waiting room, wait a while. They call me in and weigh me. And given the fact that it's only been 2.5 weeks since my last treatment, and the reason for that is because I usually meet with my doctor on Monday, but Monday is a holiday, so I ended up meeting with him today instead. So it's only been 2.5 weeks since the last time they weighed me, and I've thrown up a few times in the last couple weeks, and I had to stop walking for a while because I was sick recently. And also a few days last week, I had to stop walking because, I kind of overexerted my legs when I received the dumbbells and, bringing him in the apartment and taking him out of the box and testing to make sure everything worked. So as a result of that, I did less exercise and I also had less appetite for some reason. So I tried to force myself to eat, but I did throw up a few times and I just feel like I ate less than I should have. So I was a little worried that I would have lost some weight. But turns out that in the last 2.5 weeks, I gained 5.5 pounds, which is very surprising considering the fact that two times they weighed me ago, so 6 weeks ago, they when they weighed me, I tried like for the last 3 weeks to eat as much as I could. I really forced myself and I only gained 1 pound. And then the time after that, so 3 weeks ago, I actually ended up losing a pound. No, actually, sorry. The time before I gained 2 pounds, and that second time I lost a pound. So I'm like, given how the last 2.5 weeks have gone, I kind of expected maybe to have lost another pound or kind of stayed stable. I really was not expecting to have gained 5.5 pounds, but I'm very, very happy with that. I don't know what it is exactly. Yes, I've been trying to eat more, so maybe that's part of it. I did start working out, even though very lightly, because I don't want to, push my body too hard to begin with. So that might have helped a bit. Walking obviously definitely helps because it works out the legs. And also, I started taking protein that they prescribed for me when I went to the rehab clinic, as well as testosterone. So I'm thinking like it might be a combination of everything that just made for weight gain, which is definitely great. And once, I can start working out a little more seriously, a little more intensely, that's definitely going to help even more. So that's definitely another very good piece of news. And then after they weigh me, go back to the waiting room, wait for a while. Then they call me in and I go speak to my doctor. And, of course, first thing I say, I'm like, hey, you're famous. And he's like, oh. I'm like, okay, is that not a good thing? And then I got the story. So it turns out the hospital's like, hey, we're doing a website. We would like to, to raise money and everything. We would like to take a picture of you to put on the website. And he's like, yeah, okay. Seems like a good idea. You can see the doctor's faces and everything. So sure, let's do it. And, they go in, it takes like 5 minutes, they take a picture, and then poof, skip to now when his face is everywhere on that giant poster when you get to the hospital. Apparently, his face is also on a giant poster in an elevator somewhere in the hospital. Not quite sure which one. Haven't seen it yet. Also, he's in the newspaper, obviously on the website. He's in a TV ad. He's basically everywhere. And the hospital didn't even tell him. They just told him, like, hey, we'll take a picture to put on the website. And he's not the type of person who likes to, be famous, even though he's not really famous, but I mean, he's not that type of person. And apparently his wife is pissed too. And he told me, like, his neighbor who they don't really speak to, not because there's any issues, just because, they don't really know them. Apparently he got back home and she like ran across the street, like waving a newspaper, like, hey, you're famous. And he's like, oh my God. So I did not make fun of him, but tease him a bit about his fame during a meeting, to the point where he called me an ass, to which I responded, well, there's a lot of, it seems like things are going better, so unfortunately for you, I'm probably going to live longer, so I'm going to be an ass for even longer. Anyway, my doctor's a really good guy. We get to like joke around and stuff, so it's nice. But yeah, I mean, it was unexpected when I get to the hospital. First thing I see is like his giant face. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I don't know if that's really good news that my doctor is famous, whatever. It's just the thing. I thought I'd share it because I thought it was funny. The other piece of good news is a news that I shared before, but it's good news that I'm sharing again because of the way that my doctor reacted to it. So he's like, hey, I saw your scan that you got of your brain, and I'm very, very happy with the results. And I was not expecting that. Like, he's an oncologist. He's like not the one who takes care of my head. He takes care of the lungs and the leg. Neurosurgery and anything to do with the head is a completely different department. So I didn't really think he looked at those scans, but apparently he did. And he was like, I'm super happy. I'm like, this is very good news. Not only can you stop the Decadron, which is the drug I've been taking for the last 7 months, I think, to reduce the swelling of my head, which is definitely good for immunotherapy, because even though it was at a level where it wouldn't interfere too much, just that drug tends to counteract the effects that you get from immunotherapy. So getting rid of that once and for all is definitely good news. So he was really happy about that. Plus, he's like, you gained weight as well. It seems like everything's going well. I'm really happy because this could be, and I quote, this could be the turn of the tide where things start getting better. And honestly, given the last 16 months, given everything I've been through, given the diagnosis I was given in the beginning, and all the ups and mostly downs that I've experienced over the last 16 months, I was not expecting to hear my doctor say that ever. So the fact that he did say that was a very, very big piece of news, because he's always like very realistic, very direct in his approach, and he wouldn't be the type to give false hope. So the fact that he would say that is a very, very good sign. Plus, something else that he mentioned just in passing, was the fact that, he mentioned a clinical trial I've mentioned a few times in my videos in the past, that's going on. And he was trying to get me in. Unfortunately, they reached capacity. They weren't taking any more people. So he's like, that's basically dead. Like, don't expect anything from that. And then he just happened to mention in passing, like, oh yeah, that's going to be reopening at some time in the future. I'm going to try to get you in. So for now, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. But that's kind of like the next step that I'm hoping for, which would be very good. So it's just like a bunch of small pieces of good news that just add up to overall great news. And at this point, given everything that's happened in the last 16 months, it's just like I'm not really used to getting good news anymore. I'm not used to sharing good news. It feels kind of weird. Amazing, wonderful. I'm super happy. And I know it's going to make my wife very, very happy. But it's just it feels kind of weird because it's been so long that I've gotten like multiple pieces of good news in a row, and it just seems like overall everything is going in the right direction. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because it's rare that I get to share good news now. So it's very, very fun to do. I'm enjoying this. And the other final piece of news, not really good or bad, my next scan is going to be in November, and it's going to be a full body scan. So we're going to get a complete update of how everything is going. But given the scan in my head that I got a week and a half ago, I think at this point, and the last scan of my lungs, everything is either stable or getting better. So I'm expecting the results of that scan to be good as well. But, we never know what's going to happen. Could be good, could be bad, could be stable. I don't know. All I know is none of that changes my beliefs, what I believe will happen. And it's just nice to have good news because it's like so far it's been like bad news, bad news, bad news, and me fighting and choosing to believe that somehow I will get better, even though the doctors and the scans and everything is saying the opposite. And now it's nice to get that validation of like, hey, the scans are good. You're gaining weight and this and that and that. And I'm just like, wow, okay, nice. It feels like things are really starting to turn around, and that feels good. So, yeah, definitely very, very fun news to be able to share. So, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.